investigate the range of human hearing. And to begin with, let's look at some animal hearing range. And here we've got 0 hertz to 100 kilohertz for a cricket, and an elephant is 14 hertz to 12 kilohertz. Obviously some others there. And if we look at them more on a continuum line, here you can see humans are 20 hertz to 20 kilohertz. And the hearing range diminishes once we reach the age of 8 and getting older. The hearing range diminishes earlier in men than women, and these are averages that we're looking at. I'm going to do an activity where you test your hearing range. And the safety, because you don't want to damage your hearing, lower the volume as the frequency increases, because high-pitched sounds may damage your hearing. And if too loud, you can have ear defenders or make ear defenders by putting a cupped hand over each ear. And you're going to listen to a wide range of frequencies, actually from 0 hertz, maybe up to above 20 kilohertz. So listen to the link, which is on the next slide, but note the frequency and the person's age, the listener's age, who is listening it when they first pick up the low-pitched sound. And then you're hearing the sound. Everyone hold up his, her hand and keep it up until you cannot hear any of the sounds anymore. And so here's the link and the instructions, and write down the frequencies that when you first hear them and when you cease to hear them. And the question is, who in the group who's listening could hear the highest frequency? And then by range, so most ages can hear 8,000 hertz, and under 50 years it's 12,000 hertz, 12 kilohertz, etc. Under 8 years old, that's the widest part of the hearing range, and up to 20 kilohertz. Then we're going to look at the structure of the ear. Look at the 3 regions. We're going to look at them separately. The outer funneling sound, the bones which amplify and transmit the sounds that reach them, to the inner ear, fluid-filled, and the vibrations are going to produce nerve impulses going to the brain. So first of all, the outer ear, the external ear or pinna, then an ear canal, which is about 2.5 centimeters, 1 inch in length. And at the end of it, you've got that small window, the eardrum, the tympanic membrane. And here's just a compression wave with the lines close together, the compressions spreading out in between them. That's your sound wave, which is reaching the eardrum, the tympanic membrane, which is absorbing and transmitting the sounds. And here's sort of showing the funneling effect of those sound waves, the compression and the rarefactions. And then looking at the middle ear, you've got bones. In the diagram to the left of the arrow, the malleus, hammer-shaped, the incus, anvil-shaped, and the stapes, stirrup of a part of a saddle for horse riding shape. Another type of picture, or looking at to the middle ear, you have a tube connecting with the mouth to equalize pressure, the eustachian tube, auditory tube. The bones allow the sound to be amplified. A clearer diagram here of the hammer, the anvil, and the stirrup. And they're connecting the eardrum to the oval window. And here you're looking at enlargement of the ossicles, the bones in the middle ear, and the eardrum, which goes to the outer ear, and the oval window to the right that's going to go to the inner ear. And what we're looking at here is the joints that are there, that you've got synovial, just gliding, moving joint against each other, and the incus with the stapes is a ball and socket joint. And you have the malleus receiving the sound from the eardrum, tympanic membrane, passing through the incus and the stapes and transmitting it to the oval window that's going to be at the edge of the cochlea. And so you have here, probably not quite to scale, the oval window is about 1/14 of the surface area of the eardrum. It's only about 2 to 3 millimeters square. The eardrum is about the size of a dime, 10-cent piece. So the sound is amplified over 20 times as it passes through the middle ear with the vibrations. And then we go to the inner ear, and you have this coil, sort of like a snail shell of the cochlea, which is fluid filled. And what you're getting is vibrations, the amplified vibrations from the middle ear bones going through the oval window, the red oval there, and pass into the coil of the cochlea. A diagram here showing that you've got 2 fluid paths in through the oval window and then going all the way round the coils and back through the round window. During its passage of the sound wave through the cochlea, there's a central membrane, basilar membrane, with hairs on them. And there are a large number of hairs arranged in different rows. And then if we look at a cross-section of the cochlea, you have a sound wave which is going to travel along the curve. You've got the green arrows that you're looking at, and going to the apex right at the inner end of the cochlea, and then traveling back as well. So when we look at human hearing range with respect to the cochlea, the greater frequencies, the 7 kilohertz just below the oval window, they're the high frequency sounds. And then when you curl around, I think it's about just over 2.5 coils, right to the apex, the center of the spiral there, you've got the low frequency, 50 hertz, and lower, 20 hertz. And if you unroll the cochlea, you can look at the different frequencies here. The lower frequencies the outer end on the right, and the higher frequencies near the middle ear bones and then to the outer ear. And just a simpler diagram of this with the high frequency near the oval window and the low frequency near the inner coil of the cochlea. And here's a bit of detail. So you can see sort of the basilar membrane where you're going to get the movement of the hairs, and you see that the apex, the inner part of the cochlea, is being directed towards the right. And finally, the sounds that have been transmitted through the middle ear, through the cochlea, you're going to get some chemistry occurring within the cochlea, and that's going to be transferred into an electrical impulse going up the auditory nerve so that the brain can process those sounds. And here's a bit more detail about what happens if you want to pause and look at those. And here's the bit about the chemical here that are in the cells, the hair cells, creating an electrical signal. And that is because of a passive flow of potassium ions, creating a potential as they move. So we've got here a summary from the previous slides, the funneling of the sound in the outer ear and the compression and rarefaction of the sound waves going to the eardrum and making the eardrum vibrate. And in the middle ear, you've got the amplification of the sound with the vibration through the middle ear bones going to the fluid-filled cochlea, and the hairs within it that are stimulated by the different intensity of frequencies. And that information is gathered because of a chemical change that produces an electric current, or electric potential, which is going to go through the auditory nerve to the brain. And out of interest, some sound frequencies, different letters produce a different frequency, and the hearing range 20 hertz to 20,000 hertz, 20 kilohertz. And then some sound intensities in decibels, and high volume sounds damage your hearing. And really it should be, they sort of say, if you're listening to something, no more than 60% of the volume control, and for no longer than 60 minutes if you want to keep good hearing as you age. You can also watch Video Journey, NIH Journey of Sound Video will get you that one. And very many thanks to Washington International School Team Science, to Miss Moore, and the IB Psychology class.